recording of this will be saved to the Eshki-nishnaabemjig Facebook page, I think, for afterwards. And I'm just going to go back to sharing my screen. There. And okay. So yeah, 10 points for successful language learning. I just think that was something I wanted to share. It is helpful if you're starting an immersion program or participating in one or a mentorship. English items, I already talked about that. So when I was in my mentorship with my mentor, her name's Rita, we had a picture that we used so to signal when we would speak Ojibwe and when we would speak English. And in Eshki-nishnaabemjig, we had a ball that we would use. So if you absolutely needed to speak English, if you were really struggling, or if you had a question during like a grammar lesson, you could hold the ball and speak English for little brief periods of time. But I found that we didn't use the English items very much. It was mostly Anishinaabe. And then the other point, the last point I wanted to make about immersion techniques that have been helpful to me is the focus on communicative situations. So it's helpful to think of language learning in terms of situations rather than vocabulary. I think when we're learning a new language, we tend to focus on nouns and learning how to identify things or the names of things. So in Leann Hinton's work, she encourages a focus on communicative situation. So if you think about your everyday life, what are different activities that you need to communicate with other people around? So visiting, eating, making a meal, going for a walk, playing a game, telling a story. Those are all examples of communicative situations. And so you pick a situation, and then what you do with your mentor or with your group is you think about how you would talk to one another in that situation or during that activity, and use these situations to plan your language learning rather than focusing on making, a list of words and memorizing those. So this final document that I'm going to show you is just a handbook from the mentorship program at the First Peoples Cultural Council. And I'm just going to scroll to the very end and just show you an example of what one of my sessions would have looked like. Sorry, this is really fast. I got to go all the way to the end. An example of what my sessions looked like with my mentor. So what we would do is we would pick different communicative situations. And an example of one is something like daily conversation. When I would come to her house, I would go in and I'd sit down and we would have tea and we would visit and just get, sorry, I'm going to admit 2 more people. Yeah, when we just sit down and we would get caught up and we would ask one another, just simple things. We would talk about the weather. There's usually a couple of days in between our visits, so we would talk about, what the other person had been up to. So right there, and we would have tea. So right there, there's 2 communicative situations. Just getting caught up with one another and asking one another, what the other person had been up to, and talking about the weather, that's another communicative situation, and making tea. And so there's 3 right there. So what I did with her at first is I just took something like daily conversation and I said, okay, so what are some different things that we usually say in English? And, how could we say that in Ojibwe? And she would, come up with some different ideas. I would come up with ideas, and we kind of made a list of different words and sentences, kind of like what you see here in this document. And we wrote it up I wrote it up in Ojibwe. That's the thing with mentorship. It's really on the mentee or the learner to, do the writing and the researching and everything. And the mentor is just there to speak. Anyway, so I would write up kind of like a like a starter list of conversational items, and we would use that during our sessions so that we wouldn't have to use English when we were actually, you know, doing the thing, having a daily conversation. The other thing that we did was making tea, and so we made a list of different things that you typically would say when you're having tea. You know, so turn on the stove, fill the kettle, pour the tea. Do you want sugar? Do you want milk? Do you want tea? Do you want coffee? And we came up with that beforehand so that when we actually sat down and made our tea and had our tea together, we didn't use English because we had already kind of planned what we were going to say in Ojibwe. And inevitably, you're going to, when you're in immersion, you're going to come across things that you didn't plan for. And she said a lot of stuff that we hadn't written down. And so after that, I would kind of follow up with her. We would have a debrief where we would fill in the blanks. Okay. Okay, I am freezing up again here. Okay, speaker view.
How come we all taped up?
A virtual meeting where a female lawyer made her argument from under the covers in her own head.
And Eshki-nishnaabemjig.
Right now, and I'm not under the covers. Absolutely. Sitting here fully closed, dressed professionally. And you're wearing pants? Of course. Of course. Thanks so much.
I mean, not pajamas, you know what I'm saying.
It's 5:37 right now. Meteorologist John Stoddard on level the world. Still a cool weather pattern though. Boy, it sure doesn't feel like mid-April right now. Tomorrow we'll see some afternoon cloud, a few snowflakes floating around
great.
only and up to the Interlake area. Might
I
see a
froze
few
again.
rows in one second, nothing significant. We're only at +1. Normal high is 10 degrees, and northwest winds are 25 to 30. So still a rather cool day for this time of year on the way for your Wednesday afternoon. As a matter of fact, it's even cooler out around Dauphin and.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I don't know if it's my computer, but my Zoom keeps freezing. I seem to get about 20 minutes and then it kicks me off. I still have people. I'm just going to admit some more people here. Okay. So I noticed in the chat room somebody had asked what the name of the book was, and it's called How to Keep Your Language Alive by Leann Hinton. And I heard about this book from a Mohawk couple who they learning to speak Mohawk as their main language in the home. They had young children, and the husband was not a fluent speaker of in Mohawk, but he was kind of like the master language learner, and his wife was the second language learner. And so they used her research a lot to structure immersion in their home. Okay, so oh, there's a hand from G6. Did you have a question? I'm going to try to unmute you. I think you can unmute yourself as well. No? Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the share screen. And yeah, introductions. So I think a good measure of your language skills in Anishinaabe is how much about yourself could you talk about? How fully can you express yourself and describe your background and you know, to other people if you're meeting somebody for the first time. So the topic of tonight is waa-zhi-kidang Leann Miigwech. So what would be said when someone meets someone for the first time? So these are just some suggestions of things that you can say when you're meeting a person or a group for the first time. And it's not meant to be an exhaustive list of things to say. It's just different things that I've picked up and learned over the years. And this is one of the immersion sets that I did with my mentor. We had to pretend like we didn't know each other, had never met before, and we came up with, you know, what would you say? So everything is color coded. So in anything in red is a personal pronoun. So talking about, you know, myself or you or another person. Anything that's blue is a verb or an action word, and green for adverbs. And if it's in a negative form, it's color coded purple. So for greetings, we have Wegonesh. So I'm happy to be here. Or Wegonesh. I'm happy to see you all. So you can see the different parts of the sentence and how they relate to what is written in English, and the word order is a little bit different sometimes in a Ojibwe compared to English. Okay, so usually, you know, people start off by saying, you know, what their name is and where they're from and their clan. But does anybody have, sorry, my screen's going a little wonky here. I'll share. sorry, I'm just going to go back out of that. So yeah, so I just wanted to ask everybody, when you're introducing yourselves in Anishinaabe, have you ever felt like there's something that you wanted to say about yourself that you aren't able to because you don't know how to say it? You can raise your hand and I can unmute you and you can share that with the group. I think I can see everybody's hands here. AW. I'm not sure who that is.
Andrea Williams. Hi. I often introduce myself for meetings or for workshops, things like this. I mean, we're all familiar with that sort of deal. But because I walk with two communities, I would like to say that I'm proud of my Black indigeneity, but there seems to be not really a right word to say proud, because like it didn't want to, one of the elders told me it could come off as arrogant to say you're proud like that. So I wasn't sure what word would be the best way to say, you know, I'm proud, or at least like honor that in some way, because like this is like a reclamation, it's sort of like a new journey. So how do I say that in my introduction?
Okay. Coming off as
Yes.
prideful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's thank you, Andrea. Miigwech. Yeah, that's, yeah, I don't know. That's my first answer. I don't really know. I think you can, yeah, I'm not too sure. There's a word for proud. And there's lots of really awesome speakers here tonight. And so you may have some suggestions that you want to post in the chat there. There's a word in Ojibwe for thinking really highly of yourself. I think it's chinendas, and that it's not meant, it's thinking highly of yourself, but it does have kind of like a negative connotation to it, and people will kind of like tease one another. Oh, chinendas, you know, he thinks really highly of himself. So yeah, you wouldn't want to use that word, and that's kind of the difficulty sometimes with Anishinaabe is that a word can have a certain meaning in English, and then the same word can have a different meaning in Ojibwe. I guess you could say you like who you are, and we're going to be talking about that towards the end, how to say I like something or somebody.
Okay, great. Great.
No. Okay, so sorry, I'm going to admit some more people. 87 so far here. Okay. Anyways, okay. Anybody else? Have you ever found yourself introducing yourself in Anishinaabe and wanting to say something about yourself and struggling to find the words to express yourself in Ojibwe? And you can do the hand raise thing, and I can unmute you. Or you can unmute yourself. Jennifer.
Hello.
Hello.
This is like super new for me. I don't even know how to say hello, my name is. How would I even say that? I don't know if I'm in the wrong class. This is too.
Oh, no,
I'm
no.
Beginner.
No, you are in the right place. We're going to talk about that. No. So when I started off introducing myself, I said, I'll take off my English. So I started off saying Sarah Indigenous. Anind Sana in Indigen Con Nagog. Kawin Tessinon Anishinaabe Anna Indigen Con Nagog Anishinaabe. So yeah, there is no R sound in Ojibwe. We don't make that sound. So I don't have a a spirit name or an Anishinaabe name. So at one of my first time at the language camp, I asked one of the elders, how would you say my name, Sarah, in Ojibwe? Because you can put an Ojibwe accent on English names, like Mary is pronounced Mani in Ojibwe. And so one of the elders called me Sana, and it has kind of stuck ever since. And it's my Anishinaabe-jin-kazwin now. But Indigenous is how you say my name is, or I am named. So
Say it one more time. Indigenous.
Indigenous.
Okay. I'm writing that out phonetically.
That's okay. I have it written down too. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Anybody else before we move on? Something that you want to learn how to say about yourself that you don't know how to say in Ojibwe? Oh, I can see Charles is here. Sorry,
Ani.
Charles, I'm trying. Ani.
Ani, Salterion, Disnekas. Ni Wimiti Goji Moen. Goji Moen. Ni Aganesh Moen. Ni Anishinaabe Moen. I like to say where I come from. I come from Gatineau, Quebec.
Now. Now, Miigwech, Charles. My daughter, one of my oldest daughter, is actually a French speaker. She is in French immersion. So, now, so where you're from. So Ndonjaba is a way of saying where I am from, like where you like originate from, like your home community. And then there's other ways, like sometimes people currently live somewhere different than where they came from, and there's a way to distinguish that in Ojibwe, and we'll go over that. Naho? Naho, Miigwech. All right, I'm going to admit one more person here, and I'm going to go back to the screen share. Okay. So Jennifer asked about how to say your name. So the basic way is your name. So Sarah, my name, Sarah Indigenous. So the Indi, or the red writing, is the word for me or I. And Jinakazo is how you say his name is or her name is. But if you're going to talk in the first person, the that you hear at the end is deleted, and it's just Indigenous. So this is actually two different word parts. Indi comes from nin, meaning I, and Jinakaz comes from the word Jinkazo. So your name, Indigenous. And if you hear Indi, Indo, Ni at the beginning of a word in Ojibwe, it means that that person is talking about themselves. So I said Sana Indigenous, which is just another way to talk about what your name is. So in this way, I'm saying Sana is what they call me. So the prefix Indi has to do with me, and the agog at the end has to do with a third person or a number of third persons, a group, and what they call me. And some people have a spirit name that was given to them in Anishinaabe, and so they like to include that when they're introducing themselves in ceremony, and people use it in everyday as well. But the word that I come across for saying what my spirit name is indigo. Then, so over here, maybe you don't have a spirit name, or you're like me, you don't have an Anishinaabe name, and so there is a way to say that, sorry, I'm gonna admit one person, in Ojibwe. Going Mishi, Anishinaabe Noswin, Mage Anishinaabe Jinkazwin Ndayasin. So what that all means is, I don't have an Anishinaabe name yet. So if we want to say something is not, or no, or just not the case, so putting something in the negative, you have to include the prefix going. That just means not. And C at the end. So that those two parts which are separated go together to mean this is not the case. I don't have an Anishinaabe name. And then Mishi means yet. Going Mishi. Sometimes it gets shortened to Gomshi. Gomshi-nishnaabemjig Kazwin Diasin. No-swin and Jin-Kazwin, I have those two there. They both mean name. I think no-swin means like your name as it comes from your father. No-os is my father. Jin-Kazwin is just how something is referred to or name. And then when I worked with my mentor, Rita, she didn't say Indigenous cause or anything like that when she was referring or introducing herself. She would say Ninsa, Nin, which basically is like, oh, it's me, Ninsa Rita. So I included that there as well. Okay, sorry, I'm just gonna check the chat. Okay, sorry, I wanted to check the chat because I didn't want to miss any questions or anything. Okay, so I'm going to move down, and Charles had asked about how to say where you're from. Okay, so you could say, it was Gatineau, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So you could say Gatineau Indonjaba.
Gatineau Indonjaba.
Indonjaba. So that's like where you originate from. That's like your home community where you grew up. Ndo means me or I. Nj has to do with the fact that you're talking about a specific location or the origin of something. And ba is the verb where somebody is from. Ndonjaba, I am from. So I would say Alderville First Nation Ndonjaba. That's where I'm from. That's where I grew up. If you're talking to a group of people and you're talking about yourself in terms of not just you, but like your whole family, you would change it slightly and say Ndonjaba Min. So it sounds a little bit different. You're adding min at the end, and that has to do with you, myself, and more than one person. So we are from. So if I was talking about my family, I'd say Alderville and Ndonjaba Min, referring to like my mother and my father and my sister and the rest of my family in Alderville. And so when I was introducing myself at the very beginning, I said Miigwech Lakefield in Dida. So I don't live in Alderville anymore. I always like to indicate where I'm from though, when I'm introducing myself to another or other Anishinaabe people. But if I want to specify that I don't actually live there right now, I would use Nda. So Nda means where you presently reside. So if you live somewhere else other than your home community, that's how you could indicate that. And Miigwech just means now or presently. You could just say Gatineau in Dida, or I could say Lakefield in Dida. Miigwech is just something to indicate that you're talking about presently right now. And then, so Jin-Kade. So if you want to just, it's just another way of talking about, where you're from or where you live. So I could say, Alderville, Jin-Kade, Odinans, and Jabayan. So Jin-Kade means it is named or it is referred to. So if you're talking about a thing that is not alive or inanimate, you wouldn't use Jinakazo, you would use Jin-Kade. And that's the major distinction in Ojibwe. If you're new to learning Ojibwe, is we distinguish between things that are alive and not alive. So Jinkazo, he or she, or that thing that is alive, is named this. Jin-kade means that thing that is not alive is named this. Okay. So another thing that you might want to do when you're introducing yourself in Ojibwe is describe who your relations are or who your family is. So if I was to introduce, oh, I can see Jordan has raised his hand. Sorry. Go ahead, Jordan.
Anine, I was actually lowering it. I think my question was answered.
Okay.
So Miigwech.
No. The win pinot. Easy. Okay, so if I was going to describe, you know, my family, so I'll take off my English. So Leann, Sarah, Indigenous cause. Nish Indanisug, Indayawak, Nitum, Indanis, Holly Shinkazo. Medaswe Dansa Babonigize. Ako Nijing, so Igashine Indanis, Fe Jinkazo. Fe Nanan, Nano, Dansa Babonigize. Ninabem, Jeremy, Jinkazo. Jeremy, au Jeton Osmatigon, Shkweang, Nin. So I have two daughters. Nij and Danis Sagande Awak. I have two daughters. Nitam Indanis, my first daughter. Her name is Holly. Igashine Indanis, my little daughter. Her name is Faye. And then my husband's name, or my partner's name, is Jeremy. And he's the one who is making the walls behind me in the basement. Mishwaso Bawonaguk, 8 years. So these are just some different things that you can say about your family. And in Anishinaabe, there are lots of families are really complex, and there's lots of different ways to refer to different family members. And it all depends on you and whether you're male or female, and that's how you identify who your relations are. And so it can get really, really complex, and we can spend a whole class on it. But I'm just going to refer to a few different family members here. So the first family that you could talk about is your clan. So if you know your Anishinaabe clan, you would say clan Indodem. Indodem is the word for clan. Sorry, I'm just checking the chat. Okay. Yep, so this is going to, this is being recorded, and the recording will be posted to Facebook, I think. But at the end of the session, if you want to leave your email in the chat room, I can email this document or share this. It's a Google Doc, so I can just add you and as somebody who can view it. So the word for parents that I've learned is Gitsimak, but there are other words for parents in Ojibwe. So if you wanted to say who your parents are, Ninsa, Nigitsimak Ken, Minoa Kathy, Jinkazwag. So my parents are named Ken and Kathy. So whenever you talk about family members, there's always going to be a personal pronoun at the beginning of it. There's no word for parent, just parent. You always have to say whose parent it is. So mine, yours, that person's. And then the ending there, the ak, just means that there's more than one parent. So it's plural. Nigitsimak Kathy Minwa Ken Gayabe Dawag Alderville First Nation. So my parents still live in Alderville. So they still live. Gayabe means still, or like something is ongoing. And Nda is the word for live or reside. And then the wug is because there's more than one person. And so that's another thing. If you're new to Anishinaabe, that's another thing. All the verbs are pluralized if there's more than one person. And it's usually pluralized with a G sound at the end, and the other letters vary. And this is just another example if you wanted. So if you explain, when you're introducing yourself, you can explain, you know, where you are from and where you currently reside, and you can do the same thing with your parents. So this is especially important if you're introducing yourself to other Anishinaabe people. We always want to know, like, you know, who are your parents, where are they from, and what is your connection to other communities? So you can identify, you know, where your father is from. No'os is the word for my father. No'os, Peterborough, No'os Ibn Jabba. So my father is from Peterborough. Minoa Ingushe. Minoa, Alderville, Gabin Jabad Ingushe. So my mother is from Alderville. So Ingushe is the word for mother in Anishinaabe. If you want to talk about your siblings, so Nin, Mary, Mani, Nishime, Awe. So Mary is my sister, and Nishime is the word for my younger sister or brother. It can refer to either sister or brother, but the main thing is it's your younger sibling. Nisaya is the word for my older brother, and sorry, I left and then I came back. Okay, so I was just saying that Nimiset is the word for older sister, so I have an older sister. And the N sound at the beginning of both of these words means that you're talking about my, or me, my sister or brother. Okay, so I'm just gonna go up. So Gishpin Lidigayan. Gishpin Lidigayan if you're married. Everybody's freezing again. Sorry, everybody. I left again. See, 20 minutes. I seem to have 20 minutes of Zoom and then it, okay. And then it freezes on me. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to share my screen again and I don't know if I can. Okay, can everybody see the screen? Yeah, okay. Oh, sorry, it's freezing up again here. Okay. Share screen. Okay. Oh. Share. Okay. Hopefully you can all see the screen. So before I had to leave again, I was just going to talk about if you want to talk about your spouse, or if you're married, or if you live with somebody. At the top here, you identify who your spouse is. So for me, Jeremy Nuidagema. So I'm married to Jeremy. So ne means I'm talking about myself, and Widage ma means I'm married to him. So it's actually a different verb. It's not just saying that I'm married, but I'm married to somebody. And so when you're naming the person that you're married to, you have to use a different version of that word. Sorry, I'm just going to admit another participant. Admit all. Oh. Okay, sorry. So another way to talk about your spouse is just to name who they are, and then you could say Nuidage Magen. So Nuidage Magen means my spouse, and Owe is just the verb for he or she is this. So Nuidage Magen Owe, he or she is my spouse. There are lots of different ways to refer to your significant other in Anishinaabe. So I just listed some of them here, and maybe there's more. Nibuzgim just means like my sweetheart. Ninabem is one way to say my husband. And Nabe is actually a male deer as well. In the Coenzium, so that's kind of like a jokey way of saying, referring to your husband as my old man. In the Coenzium. In the Quem, my woman. And then when I was working with Rita during our mentorship, she had a word for companion, which was Nuijiwagan, which I thought was kind of nice because, yeah, I don't know, it seems like a more mature way to refer to whoever you live with, I guess, I don't know, Nuijiwagan. So Wijiwa means to go with somebody or be with somebody. So Nuijiwagan, the person that I go with. Maybe you're not married and you want to say that in Ojibwe. So going Nuidage Z. So going and Z go together to say not. This is not the case. Ne, me. Nuidage means to be married. Going Nuidage Z. I am not married. And then when I was talking about my daughters, I said, Nij Indanis Sug and Deawa. Nij Indan, so this is just another way of saying, so I said I have two daughters. Indanis Sug means daughters, my daughters. Nij and Deawak Benunjik, so I have two children. So Nde Yawa means I have him or her. The Nde at the beginning means I'm talking about me, myself. Nde Yawa, I have Nde awa, Ndan is I have one daughter. Nde I'll walk. So the K or the G sound that you hear at the end just means that there's more than one child. And if you wanted to introduce who your children are or name who your children are, that's just the last sentence there. So I could say Holly, Minwa, Fei, Jin Kazawag, and Benunjin Simak. So Minwa means and or as well or again. Jinkazo is he or she is named because there's more than two. I would say Jinkazwag, for they are named. And Nda, because I'm talking about my. And Benonji is the word for child, Benonjins. Because they're my children, I'm making it more possessive, which is why there's this sim at the end. Ndo Benonjin sim, my child. It's like you're indicating something that you possess. It's yours. And then there's more than one. So that's the plural ending there. Okay. Let us quickly go over work in school. If you want to say, sorry, I'm just going to check the chat room too. Okay. Sorry, I'm just checking the chat. I feel like I am ignoring everybody. Okay. Okay, so if you want to describe where you work, onde engine no kion, where I work. Onde means where, and that's the word that is used here where I live in like southeast Ontario. In more northern parts of Ontario, they use apish to say where. Onde enjik-kinamagzion. So where I am taught. So if you don't work, if you're going to school right now, you can use kinamagzion or kinamagos. So you would say where you work first. Nin namao gamagong, and donjanaki. So I actually work at a church. Namao gamagong. And do means I, and je, because I'm talking about something happening at a certain place. And nuki is the word for he or she is working. And then if you want to identify your job title, if you know how to say your job title in Ojibwe, you would say, you know, whatever it is. So I could say kinamaget, a teacher. Kinamaget ndao, I am a teacher. So this part of the word comes from the verb alwe, which was up here somewhere, right there. That means he or she is being something. But because I'm talking in the first person, the final vowel is deleted. And then the inde at the beginning of the word means me, ndao. So you can put anything in front. You can say Anishinaabe kwe ndao. I am an Anishinaabe woman. And then if you want to talk about going to school, there's different ways to refer to going to school in Anishinaabemowin. So kinamagaze means I am taught. Skonwe is another word for going to school. Nde skoneo, I go to school. Nde kinamagos, I am taught. So you would say where you go to school. So Trent University, and I am taught there. If you want to talk about what you're learning, I asked an elder one time how to say like what you're learning at school, and she didn't. She said there really is no way, but you can describe like what you're learning and or whatever. So that's the sentence here. So if you wanted to say, if you're going to school to learn Anishinaabenwin, you can say Anishinaabenwin in the blank. Inde nanda kendon. Inde I nanda am seeking gekendon to learn it. So kendan means to learn something. And then another way I've heard it referred to when you're learning something, like if you're getting a degree or a diploma or a certificate or something, you can name what that diploma is. So Eshki-nishnaabemjig, kinomadwin, nidapnan. So kinomadwin is like a teaching. And ni, me. And dapna means to pick something up, but it means to like physically pick something up, dapna. So that's another way you could refer to it. I think if you said that, the other person, if they spoke Ojibwe fluently, they would understand what you're trying to say. It's hard to describe stuff like school, like going to school and earning degrees and certificates. All right, somebody else wanting in? Okay. So we're running out of time. We're going to be ending at 7:30 tonight, but I wanted to end with something that you could all do, something we could do together. So this is an activity that when I taught Ojibwe at the primary school, this is an activity that we did. Wegonesh and minwendaman. So Wegonesh, what? And minwendaman, what I like. So if you're getting to know somebody for the first time and you want to share your interests and what you like to do, this is one way that you could talk about that. So this is organized like an immersion set I would have done with my mentor, and you can do it with a group as well. So what we did is we came up with some words. So if you're talking about your likes and your interests, these are some words and phrases that you could use. So minwendam is a feeling word, and it means he or she likes or is glad or is happy. Another word for happy in Anishinaabe is nagichinendam or gichinendam. Minwendan is also a verb, and it means to like something, like not alive or inanimate. And that's the word that is used here where I live. I live near Kerber Lake First Nation in Alderville in Hiawatha. So Minwendan means to like something, but north of here, like in the Manitoulin area, they use Bishgandan, and it means the same thing. It means to like something. So you can use Minwendan or Bishgandan. It's up to you. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about things that we like to do. So wisne, eating, he or she eats. So I'd like everybody to think of some verbs or action words that they know, like wisne. And you can drop them in the chat, and we'll, somewhere where we can all see and we can use.
I don't even know how to do chat.
Ready? Anishinaabe should be on. Anishinaabe Nenatik, Nagamo, Tisage. I'm going to write some of these down.
Okay.
So if you are not able to, if you're not able to access the chat, which is probably a good thing because some people are being dirty. Okay. Which is inevitable.
Oh, no, no. What the heck? Then cancel. How do I do everyone?
Okay, so I'm just going to type them in here, and then I'll just do a few. Somebody said they just know the bad words. You're like my mom. I did not learn anything, but we know what kidwinin growing up. Okay. So these are called intransitive verbs. It just means it's happening. So she is eating, she is sleeping, she paints, she sings. They're all in the third person. and they're complete sentences. They stand by themselves. So if you want to say what you like to do, one way that you could say it is Namin when done, I like it. We, which is just like a future tense marker. And then you would put the verb in here, and then you would end with yan to indicate that you're talking about yourself. So I put an example there. Namin when done, we sneon. I like to eat. So you can take these verbs and you can plug it in and use that to describe what you like to do. So what I'll do is, hopefully everybody can see that. So when I was working with my mentor, we actually had a bunch of pictures of different actions, and we went through and we named the actions first, and then we each took turns describing things that we like to do, and we just did it by pointing to the pictures. And then when I did this with my kids, when I was teaching, is we would use actions. And so we would be very explicit, and I would say, Inde, minendan, we sneon. Now, Miigwech toda. Let's try it. So if you would like now to share something that you like to do, you can raise your hand and I will unmute you and we can all hear you. Windemauschen, Wegonesh min Wendeman. Wenesh Winatum. Bin Cannon, Gishbin, Kendeman. I see Megan and Andrea's hands raised. Oh, and Bridget. I'm gonna go with Bridget. We'll unmute you. Ani, Wegonesh min Wendeman.
Namin wendan we nimya.
Oh, I like that.
We nimian. Yeah, get. Now, Wegonesh geabe. Wenesh geabe. iPhone.
Ani.
I think. Go ahead.
Ani. I don't know if you see me. Bishkendan tisage. Do tisage nongum gigonyak.
Oh, gnajog.
Oh.
Now, gedemenendan. Gedemenendan tisagayin. So you like to paint. If you were saying, I like to paint, inde menendan tisagayan.
Oh, inde menendan tisagayan.
Or you said bishkendan, that's fine too.
Bishkendan.
Yeah, get.
Nishin, Miigwech.
No, Miigwech. Wenesh geabe. Wegonesh min Wendeman. Chickadee?
Ah.
No.
Bishkendan we nabigegayon.
Oh, yeah, get. We finishing. Miigwech chickadee.
Yeah.
No. Wenesh geabe. Wenesh winatum. When Wegonesh min Wendemeg. So what do you all like to do? Oh, Ninatig. Windemauschenang.
Where is she?
Aha. Abzugon Bishkendan Winagamya. Bishkendan Geni we Miigwech.
Yeah, good. Nenatig neta negamod. Neta. He is a really good singer. So he said, I like to sing and I like to waa-zhi-kidang play the guitar. Miigwech. Now, Wegonesh. Wegonesh. Wegonesh min wendaman.
That.
Now, it's beans. Wegonesh min wendaman. Mage bishkendaman. Beans que. Oh, it's not test. Oh, must not test again. No. There's a little quiet. Can you turn up your volume a bit, Beans? No. Okay, so that was Beans Claire. And I think she said she likes to watch TV, but I'm not completely sure. It was very quiet. Now, so it's 7:30. So we're getting to the end of our time. I'm just gonna mute all. And okay, so yeah, that's just one little sentence that you can say to describe yourself in terms of your likes and your interests. And it's a sentence frame, which is if you're learning how to speak Anishinaabemowan, or if you're learning how to speak a new language, whatever it is, it's really, it's really important to try to learn whole sentences. And you can start with a sentence frame, you know, that's something where you can fill in the blanks and you can get used to the pattern of saying something. And so I'll just show you a couple of charts here at the end, and then we'll wrap it up. But oh yeah, so I'm going to gloss over this. So in Anishinaabemowan, there's 7 persons. So there's me, there's you, there's he or she, the third person, there's we, so first person plural, so we exclusive, so Miigwech if I'm talking about myself and some other people, but not you, the people that I'm talking to. And then Miigwech is also a first person plural, but it's inclusive, so Miigwech, I'm talking about me and you and other people. Miigwech is you plural, so Miigwech, all of you. Miigwech, them, so third person plural. And those are just some examples of how you can attach personal pronouns to verbs in Ojibwe if you are unfamiliar with that. So all those examples that I was showing you above in the document included mostly the first person and some of the first person plural exclusive. Okay, so I think it was Christy or iPhone. She was saying in Nabishgandan Tisage on. So she said, I like to paint. So that sentence that we were saying is a two clause sentence. We're using 2 verbs. We're saying I like something, and then we were also saying what we like to do. So there's 2 verbs there, and when there's 2 clauses in an Ojibwe sentence, sometimes what happens is one of those clauses is considered subordinate or dependent on the other. And all that means is that you have to use a different personal prefix. So when I say indim and endon or indim and wendum, I'm saying I like, or I'm happy, or I'm glad. I'm using the, sorry, I'm just going to move my screen a bit. I'm using the independent form of that verb, indim and endon. And then we also talked about what we like to do. So tisige. So indim and endon, tisgeon. So the second verb is sometimes considered dependent. It's dependent on the other thing that you're doing. So the painting was dependent on the liking. So these dependent forms of the verb just mean when that thing happens, that it happens, if it happens, as it's happening. It's dependent, it's incomplete, it's because it's dependent on the other verb. So indim and endon, tisageon, I like it when I'm painting, that I'm painting. So all that means is when you say tisage, and if you want to indicate that you're talking in the first person, instead of putting the ne at the beginning, you would put yon at the end. And that means that you're still talking in the first person, but you're talking in, that verb is dependent or subordinate to the other verb. Which is it's kind of a complex thing to describe, but that's just one, this activity was just one example of what that means. Subordinate or dependent clauses. Okay, so if you want to leave your email in the chat room there, I'll try to copy and paste them over, and I can share this document with you and you can read it and read it more thoroughly. We didn't go through everything tonight, and I can share that with you. And then this is being recorded, so you'll have that as well to refer back to. I'm just going to press stop share here for now. Now, so Miigwech, Miigwech gabzindoyeg. Thank you all for listening. This was my first time teaching on Zoom, and it was quite the learning experience. So thank you everyone for your patience.